Good morning, friends. It's actually only morning for another 15 minutes. It has been a very busy day for me so far. A lot of stuff to do at home, just chores, a lot of watering, had to take care of the chickens, just chores. So I'm only just now, and buying soil and all that stuff. So I'm only just now getting out here. It is almost noon, but I'm gonna go ahead and fill up this bed with the soil that I have. I think I have more than enough. And also hopefully that bed as well. And then I want to get those mums transplanted today so that they're in the ground. I only have until about 1 o'clock to do this, so I'm going to need to move quickly. I'm going to get started, and then maybe while I'm planting mums, I can tell you all about yesterday. I did take some footage, so I will insert that so you can see all about my trip to Full Belly Farm. But for right this moment, I'm going to go ahead and get all of this soil carried down. It is a little damp, and so these bags are very, very heavy. So I'm very thankful for a wheelbarrow today. So yesterday I went to Full Belly Farm, about 2 hours north of where I'm at, in Govinda, California, to do a farm tour that was sponsored by the farm and by the ASCFG, which is the Association for Specialty Cut Flower Growers. And there were about 50 of us there. We are all ASCFG members, which means we were all flower farmers, whether we were farmer florists or just farmers. All of us there had an interest in what was going on at this farm, and it was really, really fun. They hold these farms across the country, hold these days for ASCFG members every year, but this is the first time, and I've been a member for 5 years now, that there was one close enough to me to attend, and so I was thrilled. There were people there from all over California, from Oregon, and even from Nevada. So that was really fun. The farm itself is a 41-year-old, this is their 41st year. It is the 9th organic farm in the country, the 9th one to be listed as organic. They started back in 1984, and they are 400 acres today. It is majority vegetables, with 15 acres being in cut flower production. And that is a very small portion of their business. They grow over 87 vegetable, fruit, nut crops. They also have nearly 2,000 chickens for an egg production, and they have sheep and cows as well. In addition to a beautiful event space where where we started the program. So we got there at 9 o'clock, pulled up, and from 9 to 9:30, we had a chance to meet and greet everybody, and they offered us snacks, foods that they grow on the farm. So amazing strawberries, incredible apricots, mulberries, candied orange peel, dried mandarin slices. It was amazing. Then we went and toured their 3 large cut flower production fields. As I said, they have 15 acres in cut flower production. And like any good farmer, they practice crop rotation. So these fields are in different locations every year. They showed us they have 3 fields: a spring, which they fall plant. So just like me, in October, they plant all of their spring crops, and they grow a little bit with the final waning heat in the soil, and then they kind of sit dormant over the winter, and then they take off in January, February timeframe, sometimes March. It is much warmer up in that part of California because they are in a valley. So, for instance, yesterday here at my house, it was maybe 84 degrees Fahrenheit, and there, when I was there, it was 95. So definitely a lot warmer. So they have the spring field, then they have a summer field, which they start planting in February timeframe, and then they have a perennial field, which is a work in progress. They, just like all of us who farm and garden, struggle with gopher pressure, voles, moles, and deer. But they have so much space that they can kind of afford some of the losses. They do have one person on staff. They have a staff of about 80 people, and many of them have been with them for over 25 years. So that's a testament to what a great place it is to work. One of person on staff, their job is literally trapping as many rodents as they can. So, how would you like that job? 400 acres having to trap rodents. Crazy. Anyway, so we got to tour those 3 fields, and then we got a tour of their flower shed. It's basically the processing shed. So where they bring everything comes in from the field, they do all their wrap and bundling and sleeving and all that kind of stuff. And then they have multiple freezers, walk-in freezers, coolers for their flowers. They have a CSA, which has 1,000 members. So every week they are delivering 1,000 boxes of vegetables, and people can do a bouquet of flowers as an add-on. And sometimes that bouquet is just like this week. It is 5 big, beautiful sunflowers. That is the bouquet. So it's different every week. It's what they have in the field. They also have, they sell through wholesale. And so they may have, they may be bunching 800, mixed bouquets for grocery stores, depending on the day, or they're doing straight bunches. It's thousands and thousands of bunches. So huge space. The rows that they grow in are 600 feet long. That is not their choice as flower farmers, but because they are using the vegetable fields and they are, as soon as their crops are done, they're kicked out of there so that they can turn that field over for vegetables. So they keep everything in the same size. So 600 feet long beds. That's a long distance to be walking with buckets of cut flowers. So we also got a tour of the drying room where they dry a bunch of their flowers, first cuts as well as end of season stuff. And they have a whole event space that has a commercial kitchen, and they make commercial products. Like they have their own olive oil and then jams and jellies and almond butter from their almond trees and, all that kind of stuff. So it was super fun. I learned a lot, met a lot of great people, and gave me a lot of ideas for things moving forward. So yeah, it was a really great day. This bed is done. Such a relief. I filled it with the soil and put down brand new irrigation. I've been reusing the irrigation, but a lot of the stuff that I've been reusing has tons of holes in it. And so I was like, forget it. I already have this big giant roll here. I just rolled out brand new irrigation. So all the mums are in. So happy that's done. When I leave the farm today, I will hit the irrigation just to run right here. Even though I watered them before I put them in, I want them to get more water now that they're in this soil. And then I filled up the rest of this bed. It is ready for planting. However, I do need to pick up some extra drip line at home and extend this down here so that it completely covers. I'll put the alstroemeria in there, and then I was thinking, based on everything that I learned yesterday at Full Belly, that I probably will set up a bunch of yarrow in here as well. That will be two really good perennials to have. We still have 2 beds here that I can also turn into perennials space, and just not sure what I'm going to do yet. There's also almost half a bed left of the mums that I can plant in as well. So I do want to focus on perennials as much as possible, because they will save your bacon more times than not when you don't have things to harvest. And that has been the case for me the last couple of weeks. My personal roses and the peonies, all the stuff that I grow at home as perennials, has been amazing for cutting. And it's been great because the annual stuff has been slower. But things are starting to pop, and that's really good. One of the things that I also learned at Full Belly yesterday, when we toured their amazing dried flower room, is that they don't waste anything. So for me, I've been harvesting flowers for drying just at the end of the season. Like, okay, the season's over, I'm going to pull all this stuff up, I'm going to dry it. But what they do, and this is brilliant, is they harvest the first stems. Generally, with most annuals, your first stems are short. They're too short to use with most of them. And so they kind of go to waste, because you do have to cut them so that the plant will start producing more and will give you longer stems. But what they do is they harvest those short stems and they keep them and they dry them. Because in a wreath, you don't need long stems. In a posy, you don't need long stems. And so, yeah, that's great. It's just another way to use product. It's a, value added, because otherwise that would just be going to waste. So, wanted to show you, look how gorgeous these sweet peas are. Now, I harvested a lot of sweet peas for our bouquet bar on Sunday, and they were just getting started. With sweet peas, if you don't harvest everything, they will just go to seed. So if you want to keep them producing, you need to cut. So what I'm going to do now is try to find, and actually these are the longest sweet pea stems I've ever had. That is a long stem. It's not really long enough for a market bouquet, but it is perfect for a vase. And they smell amazing. So I'm going to go ahead and harvest these. And I need to find like a little jar or something to put them in, because I only have buckets out here. And then the other thing I wanted to show you that I also harvested a bunch of for the bouquet bar, and will be harvesting more for starting this coming week when the CSA picks up again, is the Clarkia. So this is a bed of Tahiti daffodils. Planted those here, and after I planted them, I spread down a whole bunch of wildflower seed, and the majority of what came up is Clarkia. And look at it. It is gorgeous. We still have some corncockle in here. Here's corncockle right here, also known as agrostemma. But the whole idea of this bed was that I could get a double use out of it. It is not irrigated, and these guys still look amazing. I mean, look at them. Just beautiful. And so I am so pleased with this, because this will be a year after year after year thing, because they will just direct sow themselves in here. And yeah, so all the daffodil foliage is dying back like it's supposed to. And once the Clarkia is done, and I've mostly harvested it all out, I am going to try to dry some, because I have no idea how it's going to dry. It might be horrible, but you don't know until you try. Once that's done, then I will come in with the string trimmer and literally flatten everything all the way up to the fence line, because we've got a lot of weeds back there. And then I will cover this bed so that it doesn't get full of weeds, and it will be ready to be uncovered when the rains come in the fall. So yeah, I'm just so thrilled with that. They are so beautiful. Also in our dahlia bed up here that has, these are single dahlias. So like collarettes and stuff. They are not like the big blousy ones. These were started from seed, from floret seed. The daffodil foliage is dying back, but you can see the dahlias are looking amazing. Now these guys overwintered. They're looking beautiful. And a lot of them are about to start blooming. Now last year, these got over 7 feet tall. I couldn't even reach the top to harvest them. So I got a lot off of these. They are so cute. They're dainty like daisies, you know, not the big, like I said, not the big blousy dahlias. So they clearly can overwinter really, really well. I did not cover this bed or anything like that. It went through the winter rains. It is irrigated because now that it's dry, they definitely will need irrigation. But yeah, they're looking great. I'm really, really happy with that. The Daucus is looking beautiful. This is one of my very favorite flowers. It's just so pretty. This is chocolate lace flower. I mean, look at the size of this. It's a huge landing pad. Here's one down here that is further along. And we've got some ladybirds on there. I mean, they're just gorgeous flowers. I love these so much. So this bed of Daucus is highly, highly successful. And I'm so pleased because last year, almost all of them got eaten and I hardly had any plants. I had like 2 or 3 plants left. So it's really nice to have half a row of this, my favorite secondary flower. And they're so big and pretty, you can also use them as focal flowers. Next week, shipping coming to us, 288 each of Bells of Ireland, snapdragons, I can't remember the variety. What else? Didiscus and another plant that I can't remember. So I'm going to have a lot of seedlings to transplant and we have bed space and that is awesome. So everything's prepared. I just need to get the weed treatments going, but we're looking really good. All right. I will meet you back at home. I'm going to harvest these sweet peas, but I'll meet you back at home and we're going to take cuttings of perennials to start new plants. Okay, so we are back from the farm. It is kind of warm, kind of not the best time to be doing this, but I'm going to get it done because May is a great time to start taking cuttings of softwood perennials so that you can multiply your stock for free. That's the best thing about taking cuttings. And it can seem intimidating, but it's really not. And, you know, worst case scenario, that cutting doesn't take. And you've really lost nothing because you're not destroying the original plant in order to get that cutting. So there are a few supplies we're going to need. Let me gather those up and then we'll talk about which plants we're going to go take cuttings of in the cottage garden. Okay, I have some pots set up here. These are just pots that nursery plants came in that I then later washed and sterilized, and all they have in them is perlite. I happen to have a bag of perlite here. Perlite is just a natural ingredient here. It's kind of stone-like, but it's great because it improves aeration, it improves drainage, but there is some water holding capacity, so it's a really nice thing to put to start roots in for your cuttings. You can also use vermiculite, a mix of perlite and vermiculite. You can use regular soil, but I would suggest if you're going to do that to add in perlite. You want whatever you set these cuttings up in to be very loose, very easy for roots to form and push through. So if it's a thicker potting soil, you're probably not going to be very successful because baby roots when they come out are as fine as your hair and they need to be able to move through the soil very easily. So we're going to use this perlite. I have completely wet it down. It is thoroughly saturated, and the tray itself still has a little bit of water in it. That's mostly to keep some humidity circulating through here. Now, once we take the cuttings, we'll talk a little bit more about the importance of humidity. But let me grab some clippers that I clearly need to derust. I mean, they're still working, but they're rusty. So let's go out and make some selections of perennials here that I'm going to cut and take and create new plants with. This time of year, a lot of them are flowering, and that's okay. But what I'm going to try to do is choose stems that are not currently flowering. Lavender. You can totally take cuttings of lavender. You're going to want to select a stem where you can cut down pretty deeply in the plant, just like that. And we're also going to cut off the flower. The reason we're doing that is we don't want the cutting to put any effort into that flower. We have also cut back a lot of the leaf material. All we've got here is a stem. We have cut above a leaf node, and so we're going to have roots coming out right here. Now, I'm going to take a couple more cuttings and let's go stick these immediately in the perlite. Now, the reason you want to strip so many leaves and have very little greenery at the top here is that the plant now has no roots. These individual plants now have no roots, which means it's going to be way harder for them to keep their moisture level consistent. So they're going to transpire a lot through their leaves, and you want to minimize that so that they don't lose all of their moisture. That's the other reason why your medium should be damp, moist, and you need to keep it that way, but not wet, or they will mold. Now what we do is we take our cuttings and we just stick them down in the corner. Now these are nice and stiff, so I don't have to dig a hole first, but when they're kind of floppy stems, I will dig a hole with a pencil or something in order to get these in so I don't break off the stem. But you want to put them in the corners, not out in the middle here. The reasoning behind that, there's still too many leaves on this. The reasoning behind that is that if I were to kind of cluster them around here in the middle, when they start to root, and this is going to take probably 8 to 10 weeks for this to happen, all their roots are going to get all tangled up together in there. And when we go to separate them, we really risk damaging the individual plants, which are going to be very delicate to begin with. So once they do root in, like 8 to 10 weeks, like I said, then we will pot them up in their own individual pots and grow them on. So this is not the kind of case where once they're rooted in, I'm going to stick these back in the garden. They need to be much bigger in order to survive out in the real world. So I'm going to put a label in here. This is lavender. I don't remember the variety, but that's okay. And then we will go grab some more stems of different perennials. One of my favorite plants in the garden, this is Nepeta, or catmint. And again, I don't remember this variety here, but it might be cat's pajamas. Anyway, I love this plant, but super easy to take cuttings of and create more so that I don't have to go buy another whole plant. I have a stem right here that does not have a flower on it, so this is a really great option. What I'm going to do is follow down to where there is a leaf node, just like that. And when I pull these off, now there will be rooting that will take place here. But like with the others, I'm going to strip back most of these leaves, even more actually, because we want just enough to keep the plant happy, but not that it has to work super hard. Okay, so we're going to do exactly the same thing. In this case, this is a little long. I'm going to cut off the end here. Again, we don't want this plant to have to work super, super hard. Nice strong stem, so I can go ahead and stick that down there. I'm going to peel back a few more leaves. Now, if I wasn't next to the greenhouse, then probably what I would do is bring a plastic bag with a wet paper towel in it out to hold these cuttings. You want to put them in the substrate that you're using as quickly as possible. If they dry out, then that's kind of it. They won't root for you. So that's why I'm going to take some cuttings and coming right back. So I'm going to go grab a few more and we'll finish up these final two pots and wrap up what comes next. Okay, final sets of cuttings that I took, and I only did 2 of each. This is Buddleia, butterfly bush. You can see how droopy they've already gotten just in like the 5 minutes that it took me to come here. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cut the majority of these leaves off here. That still gives them some space to photosynthesize. It's not going to put a lot of stress on the plant as it's trying to root. Nice strong stem, I can just stick it in the corner of the pot. Same thing with this one. I'm going to cut that top part off, and all of these leaves are getting a haircut. So like I said, this prevents too much transpiration. It also helps the plant because now it doesn't have to send a whole bunch of energy to keep these leaves healthy. And then the last 2 cuttings I did was penstemon. This is beard tongue. Again, flowering, not going to keep that part. We will strip off these leaves here. And I'm going to cut just below that. So that was the leaf node. That's where the roots are going to come out, and that's not too many leaves. This is a really pretty penstemon, super tall. I've been really enjoying this in bouquets, and this is only half of the stem. I said the stems are about 4 feet long. It's crazy. All right, same thing here. Cut right there and take off those leaves. And then these are a little bit big. All right, so we're going to stick this guy in the pot. So we have our cuttings. Now what? Well, they're going to stay in this tray, and on this table. I will move them over here when space allows. These are the alstroemeria that are going out in a couple days, so they can come here. You just want them to have sun, but not direct blazing sun, because remember, they don't have roots, so you don't want to stress these plants out any more than they need to be. Like I said, anywhere from 6 to 8, maybe even 10 to 12. It just depends on the variety of plant that you're doing, weeks for them to root. When you start seeing roots come out the bottom of the pots, they are rooted in. Another way to tell is you can actually give a tug on it, like a pretty hard tug, and if it really doesn't want to come out, then it's probably rooted. So, you know, that's the ways to tell. Now, we want to keep, like I said, we want to keep their medium moist, but not soaking wet. And what I like to do is keep a little bit of water in the tray, because that will keep some humidity around them. Some people like to put some stakes in their pots and cover with a plastic bag, a Ziploc bag. I've tried that in the past, and they have molded on me. And so I opt to do it this way. It means I do have to water them more often, but I'm fine with that. I have more success, me personally, doing this. Some people swear by the plastic bag technique, and they do great. But clearly that's not in my wheelhouse. I don't do very well that way. So this is something you can do now with almost any perennial in your garden. If it's late spring where you're at. Now, if you are going into fall, friends in the Southern Hemisphere, that's a different story. There are some cuttings that you can take, some hardwood cuttings you can take over the winter time when things are dormant. But this is softwood cuttings of perennials that we're talking about, and this is the time of year to do it, in mid to late spring, when you don't have to worry about them catching frost or anything like that, and the plant itself is actively growing. So if this works out, I will have 4 new lavender plants, 2 new Buddleia bushes, 2 new penstemon, and 4 new Nepeta plants. And these are plants that I could put either here at the house somewhere, which I'm running out of space to do that, or at the farm, and they cost me nothing. So I would highly recommend giving this a try. The most you're out is a little bit of soil or perlite and a plastic pot. You can even try this in Dixie cups. Totally works that way too, as long as there's a little bit of a drainage hole. So I would say give it a shot. You never know. If you fail, you fail. And one thing I wanted to say is, if you're new to gardening, gardeners and farmers kill so many more plants than you can possibly imagine. I mean, the numbers are huge. So it is not like we are some amazing plants people that would just, everything lives and survives and does it beautifully. We kill plants all the time. That is just part of the game. So don't let yourself be intimidated by that. Give these things a try. It's a great way to save some money. You could go to the garden center and buy one plant, and as it gets bigger, take a bunch of cuttings off of it, and you've multiplied your stock, and it's cost you nothing but that initial purchase of that one plant. So I highly recommend it. Other things you might want to take cuttings of, any salvia is great. They root very quickly. You could do yarrow. You could do, you can do lupines. Their cuttings take a whole lot longer to root. You can also snap off, because the lupines will develop new baby plants right off of the mother plant, and you can literally snap those off and stick that in soil. Do the same technique. That will take a little longer, but you will have a brand new plant from that as well. So there's lots of things that you could go out there and propagate. And like I said, just give it a try. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But if it does, free plants. So you can also just do a Google search. Can you propagate X? And it'll tell you. And it'll tell you how, in case you forget or you don't have access to a video to show you. So that's going to be it for today, you guys. Thanks for hanging out. I think tomorrow, which is Friday, I'm going to try to fix that little bit of irrigation at the farm in that raised bed. Just need to add like 3 feet of a drip tube. And then we'll plant the alstroemeria, get those in. All of these beautiful hellebores here are intended for our front walk project. And I even bought a few plants today for that project as well. So I think we'll do that quick stuff at the farm, and then we'll come back here and work on that front walk. I want to get the pipe fixed, the irrigation pipe, get new irrigation laid out, and get all the soil raked, add a bit of soil builder soil to that just to kind of give it a little bit of nutrition. And then we can start planting, and hopefully we'll be able to order the stone and get all that stuff laid down over the next couple of days. I can't wait to get it back up and running to have it look nice. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you have a wonderful time in your garden, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.